After that powerful story about David Kajani, his struggle with drug addiction, and of course how his faith and just through sheer will and friends he was able to come out of it, and some of those grim statistics that you've painted for us, that recent data released by NACADA, now is the appropriate time to get into that discussion, and I want to usher us into that right here at the Greenhouse Mall where we're having our town hall discussion tonight. It's all about battling drug addiction, and of course you can weigh in on this discussion. 22422 is our SMS line. The hashtag, as always, is Monday Report, and we'll be sampling some of your feedback even as the program continues. But I'm not alone here today. In addition to Mashirima Kapombe, we have a panel and an audience that will help us properly discuss the issues around drug addiction in 2019 in Kenya. Let me introduce them to you. But of course, Mashirima Kapombe, wacha tusikie sauti kidogo.
Na Mwahiga, kama kawaida tuna wale ambao wamepitia masuala haya na kuna wale ambao pia wana maswali kuhusiana na jinsi ya kupambana na mihadarati pamoja na vileo. Kuna maswali mengine hii leo yatakufurahisha, mengine yatakuchekesha, na pia kauli zingine ambazo zitakusikitisha. Tutaweza kusikia kutoka kwao. Wahiga.
Asante sana Mashirima. Expect a very high fast-paced discussion. Let me introduce my panelists to you at this time. I'll start from there far right. We have Caroline Kagea. She's a certified addictions professional and an inspirational speaker as well. Caroline, welcome to the Citizen TV Town Hall.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us. Next to her is Lieutenant Colonel retired Julius Githiri. He is the chair of NACADA. Welcome to the program as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us. And last but not least, we have Gathoni Wamushomba, the woman rep for Kiambu County. She also joins us for today's program. Mheshimiwa, karibu sana.
Asante sana.
And of course, the audience will introduce themselves even as they pose questions and make comments in today's discussion. But Bwana Chair of NACADA, let me begin by posing the question to you. Trevor Mbidia in studio took us through some very worrying numbers that seem to suggest that children as young as 6 start tasting drugs, alcohol, at that age. And this is from data that you sent a team out to gather. When a child as young as 6 is engaging in drugs, drug use or drug abuse, what is that child doing? Are they in school? What are their circumstances? Help us understand the kind of situations you found out as that study was carried out.
The research basically highlights a very important point, and that is that the whole process starts at home through family interaction, friends, and the kind of lifestyle that we are living in, where in the home, during celebrations, birthday parties, graduation, the use of alcohol is considered a normal part of the celebration.
And you are able to get parents or children who would admit to this when the survey was being carried out?
Yes, they are able to say, this is the first time I engaged with this particular product, because it's a normal thing in the home. There is a small bar and the father or the mother drinks. On weekends after church service, they are taken to social outings, and this is where they believe that drinking is a normal habit, and that's the normal interaction that a young man today goes through in Kenya. And as he or she grows up, she believes that drinking is trendy, smoking is a normal lifestyle, and that habit grows up with him or her, and therefore, as far as he's concerned, and others will even tell you, because it's legal, they don't see anything wrong with it.
They don't see anything wrong with it.
So this casual engagement, either at home or through peers and friends, introduces this person into this habit.
Okay, and I'll be coming to you a bit later on to talk solutions, but let me ask you this. As the chairman of NACADA, were you surprised by those findings, or is it what you've been seeing all this time? It's just that now it's been confirmed by actual data.
For me, this particular research confirms that for many years now, we have been on denial. We have assumed that we don't have a problem, because every other person, when he wants to open a business, the first thing he will do is to either open a wines and spirits in the neighborhood or a bar. And it has
Mheshimiwa
been,
here is really nodding her head as you
yes,
speak.
it has been the fastest growing industry in this country. And therefore, because of this system of socialization, to a lot of people,
Yes.
it's normal. It's
normal.
a lifestyle. It's trendy. It's nice.
Let me bring in Carol and ask her this. Is it normal? Does this data surprise you, or do you feel that as a society we've become conditioned to receive such shocking headlines? You see it on TV, you read it in the papers. What do you think when you hear the kind of data that NACADA, found out about?
Initially, I was very shocked, but the more I speak, because I speak a lot on addiction and I teach a lot, I speak to people and they tell me they started drinking or using drugs at that age of 4 or 5. And how are they introduced? They found a beer bottle in the house. They tasted what was left in the bottle. Or they go for a party. The father or the mother tells them, kidogo tu si mbaya. And as you continue,
Kidogo tu si mbaya.
kidogo tu si mbaya. And this is a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old. Some of the cases I'm dealing with now in schools, they surprise me.
They surprise you.
They surprise me.
And I'll give you time a bit later on to give you a full story, but give us a snippet of your story, because you've had your own battle with drug addiction.
Yeah.
What is the summarized version?
My story is almost like for David. What he did, I've done most of it. I got into alcoholism as a joke, experimentation. I had just finished Form 4. I was in Form 5. I was privileged enough to do my A-levels. So I got into it out of excitement, peer pressure. And my first drink was a 250 ml, 12% bottle of red wine that never made me drunk. And that was my first experiment with alcohol. I never got drunk. I never got tipsy. I drank it. I went to bed. The following day, I woke up and I went to school.
And as a young person, that's something to boast about. That kitu hainitishi.
In fact, for me, it had been given as a gift. If I sleep with a boy, I'll be given alcohol. So I passed the first test. So the incentive came, which was the alcohol. And I drank it, and I was so disappointed because I never got high at all. In fact, I felt like I'd just been taking tea the night before because I drank, slept, and went to school.
Mm-hmm.
And it progressed from there, meaning my tolerance levels. In addiction, we call it tolerance. My tolerance levels were very high from the word go.
And you've battled this for the next, 15?
For the next 18 years.
18 years.
Yeah.
We'll come to you and find out, how you've been right now. And earlier on, you introduced yourself as a recovering addict. We'll talk about when does one progress from recovering to recovered as well. But Mheshimiwa, welcome to the program as well. Kiambu County, Car Sober program, rehab centers, their money being pumped in. What makes alcoholism, drug abuse such an issue in Kiambu County, in Murang'a County, in specific counties within the country?
Thank you, Wahiga. I think there is not that very big difference between Kiambu and Murang'a, like Laikipia, Nakuru, Nyandarua, Nairobi. It's only that the proximity to Nairobi for Kiambu makes it a little bit more visible, because everybody who is able to report is able to run into Gashie, to run into Ruaka, and come back to your newsroom.
It's easier to do a survey in Kiambu County and come back with the data.
Yes. So I don't want to say that Kiambu is a special county compared to other counties, because I have participated in my past. I've participated in around 7 counties, and I think Kiambu is not really. We cannot say that we are the ones who are carrying the burden. It's only that,
yes.
Of course, our population is very high compared to other counties. So the occurrence of cases when the population is high, of course, is higher.
Is higher.
Yes.
Back in 2015, Honorable Mutudo, then the former NACADA chair, said that Kiambu spends 14 billion shillings annually on alcohol.
Well,
do you agree with those numbers?
I am not in the county government myself, so I may not be able to say whether that is factual or not factual. But I can tell you, because I live in Kiambu, I am elected in Kiambu, and I can tell you we have a problem, not only in Kiambu, but we have a problem in Central Region.
Okay.
And we must accept that this is a problem, because if we don't accept, we will always be in denial and we'll never get a solution. I come from a background where I believe that societal problems can only be sorted out by the society itself, if the society admits that it's a problem.
So government can play its part, NACADA can,
everybody else can play its part, but we must accept we have a problem. When you hear children as young as 8 are indulging,
That shocks you.
That's not usual business. That's not normal business.
Is society ready to accept there's a problem in your view?
Yes, I think eventually, in the year 2003, when we started talking about the illicit brews, the kubels, you know, the smoking, the bangi, we were in denial. But eventually, I think the society is accepting that we surely have a problem.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll be coming to you because you're playing a part in your way in Kiambu County in terms of solutions, but we have many questions from our audience here today, and I can allow Mashrima Kapombe to begin to sample some of them. Mashrima.
Na naanzia hapo kwa lile swala ambalo mwenyekiti wa NACADA amelizua kuhusiana na kuwa vileo katika taifa hili ni halali. Lakini Caroline Mukeira ana swali ambalo anahisi lazima lijibiwe sasa hivi.
My name is Carol Mokeira, student of Multimedia University. My question is, if the drugs are addictive, why can they be illegalized in the country?
Kabla hilo swali alijaribiwa, kuna lingine ambalo linafungamana na hilo. Julius.
I'm Kundi Julius from the University of Nairobi. And my question, I think I'm directing it to the Right Honorable. I think the prices of drinks like beer should be reduced. This is because it can help curb the consumption of these illicit brews, which most of the people go for just because the prices are very low. So I don't know if the government can chip in and work on a way so that the drinks or the prices of these beers can be reduced, because there are drinks which are tested and verified deemed fit for human consumption.
Maswali mawili hapo. Mmoja anataka zote zisiwe halali, mwingine anataka zingine zishukishwe bei. Sijui kama tuanze na mwenyekiti.
Bwana Chair, I believe in a nutshell they are saying reduce access, make it harder to access these drugs. Is that a solution? Is that one way to go about it?
Let me start by saying that this social problem doesn't have a single solution. And the underlying issue is for you and me to be knowledgeable in all these products that you'll find in the market. As a country, we will maintain an open economy due to the fact that we will have all sorts of industries, and there is a reason why that open economy will be maintained. However, you as a customer, you need to understand the importance of having the knowledge of the products that you buy and you consume. And this is what is called healthy living. So today, whether you are consuming the best meat or the best product that you are purchasing from any shelf, it is important that you have product knowledge. And this is where the whole subject of drug abuse comes in. Are you knowledgeable? Do you know what it is? Do you understand the process that Karanja and the other people have explained? That you will start a casual involvement and engagement with a product, and it will end up being dependent, or you become dependent, and eventually you'll become an addict.
So in a nutshell, restricting access is not a solution in your view?
It's a question of, are we knowledgeable? Do we understand what healthy living it's all about? So that you can protect your mind, your liver, your brain from all these products that you will be consuming innocently.
Okay.
So the knowledge that we are bringing to you as a consumer, as a Kenyan today, is that you need, and you have the internet, you can Google anything and everything and understand the difference between cigarette, marijuana, heroin, and cocaine. So whether you are driving the best Subaru, and that's what everybody would love to do in Kenya, and a young person that has 220 kilometers per hour, you need to know that it can kill.
Okay.
And therefore, whatever decision you make, please know that there will be consequences And
those
you're responsible
decisions. All
for
right.
the decision that you make.
Thank you, Bwana Chair. Caroline, just a brief one from you. Knowledge is powerful, and that one no one will argue about. But where peer pressure is involved, sometimes that knowledge is thrown out of the window. You don't care.
Yeah.
You want to appeal to your friends. You want to appeal to your peers as well. Restricting, you don't think that would work
I
in
don't
any
think
way?
so. You know, if you're set out to drink, you'll drink. If that is what your purpose to do, you'll do it. Whether there are restrictions or there's no restriction. Then also this thing of reducing the price of alcohol so that people can stop drinking cheap things. If you're used to drinking cheap things, you will still drink cheap things. I know people who earn a lot of money, but because of their tolerance levels, which are so high, they prefer the cheaper drinks because the highness, from experience, the highness is on top of this world.
It gives them something that they are looking for.
Exactly. So even if you reduce the price of a Tusker, so that people can be able to drink it,
It will
chances
make a
are it will not
difference.
work.
Mheshimiwa, I'll come to you and give you a chance to comment. Mashrima, let's get another question in.
Naam, tukisalia tu kwa hilo swala ambalo ni linahusiana na kujipatia tu kufahamu yale masuala ambayo yanaweza kuibuka kutokana na kunywa vileo. Nataka kumpatia nafasi Nyakwach Vincent ambaye alikuwa na swali kuhusiana na hilo swala la kupata knowledge ambayo wote wawili hapo wameweza kuzungumzia.
Now, thank you. I'm Nyakwach Vincent from the University of Nairobi. Now, my question goes to the NACADA chair. I have quite a number of friends. I could say 54% of my friends around me are drug addicts.
What percentage?
54%.
You have exactly
of the
54%.
Yeah, of the people around me are drug addicts. Recently, we had a function in school, the university, about on the International Day Against Drug Abuse, where I happened to be a guest there. And I realized that a majority of those ones who are attending the function, most of them are not even drug addicts. Those who I knew to be drug addicts are actually not attending. So what are you doing so as to reach those people who are addicts and are not attending some of these functions you prepare for us? Thanks.
Okay, Chair, speak, and then Honorable
Thank you.
Mutamba as well.
Excellent question. And that's why a lot of people will ask us as NACADA, what are you doing about this problem? And right now we have got a program that we call NACADA Mashinani. And we have just gone through an international forum that was in Nairobi, where the youth of Kenya had a specific engagement session to understand the issue of alcohol and drug abuse. So we want to make sure that in schools, primary school, secondary school, we build capacity so that the teachers, the counselors understand this problem. In the churches, and I must commend some of the churches, the SDA, and all the others, have a program within the church where young people are taken through skills, life skills. For those people here who went through Boy Scouts, if there are any here, I'm sure life skill was a part of your training. For some of us who went through the military, understand what life skill is all about, to ensure that you build a holistic person who is able to survive, because life is not as easy as we think it is.
Okay.
So you must have the right skills to understand the ups and downs, and when to engage and when not to engage.
Okay. But his question specifically was, how can NACADA target those who need to hear that message? Because he's saying those who are attending the forums that he attended, for example, are not drug addicts.
And I think my message is, today, whether you talk about Kiambu, Kisii, we have youth-based organizations that interact with us, and we interact with them, and we build capacity in them to ensure that they reach not only those who are in schools, but even those who are in the community. And I believe, looking at some of the survey that has been previously done, the awareness level in Kenya is hitting 85%. So the issue is not awareness, but is about making a decision and knowing what is right and what is wrong and specifically taking that difficult decision.
Honorable Mushomba, do the young people in Kiambu County know about the dangers of drug abuse? Do they have all the information they need? And if so, what is stopping them from making long-term decisions?
Well, I really wanted to address the question that was asked by my brother there. Unfortunately, I didn't get the opportunity to answer him.
Go ahead.
But in Kiambu County, there is very little awareness, very little. And that is why actually we have a problem. Little awareness, I mean, we only get to reach out to those that have a problem when we realize they have a problem. But before they get to the problem, we don't reach out to them. I think we need to up our game when it comes to, creating awareness around the issues that drive people into addiction, the available substances that can cause addiction. Because there are things that our children are using, even in boarding schools, and they don't know that those substances are actually exposing them to actually getting hooked to addiction. But there are things that we assume that they know, but they don't know. So we need to up our game. And I think I want to throw this challenge to NACADA. They need to actually get to mwananchi on the ground, not to assume that the non-governmental organization, the civil society, the people who are running private rehabilitation, like most of them I can see here, let them not assume that they are doing their job. They need to actually go to mashinani and come up with serious campaigns and mount a serious awareness.
He says they are going to mashinani. You have not seen them in your county.
I haven't seen them in my county. I'm yet to see them. And by the way, there's a serious problem when it comes to awareness. And we also need to ask ourselves, what are the risk factors that are making young children as young as 8 years get hooked to issues of addiction? What are the risk factors? Because every time I hear politicians and leaders speak, they say people are drinking illicit alcohol, they are taking kubel, they are smoking whatever they are smoking because there are no jobs. But surely, look at this report from NACADA, the one that I'm seeing today, and I think I went through today before I came in here. There are other risk factors that are making people actually get into addiction, not because of what politicians and political leaders have been saying that it is lack of job. There are many other risk factors. Have we looked at them to the mashinani level and know how can we avoid those risk factors so that we can prevent addictions issues? And I think the risk factors are very clear. He said it very clearly. You expose your child as young as 8 to issues that can hook them into addictions like alcohol, like smoking. They will eventually get there. That is one of the risk factors. Exposure. Peer pressure is also another issue. You have heard what the young man from the university is saying, that 54% of his friends, I don't know how he did those mathematics to assess that 54% of his friends are addicts. I mean, peer pressure.
So
you media have glorified drunkenness.
You're speaking as a former or current journalist.
Even former.
Even yourself,
but when I was a former, I really fought alcoholism. You remember, I was even put in because of fighting alcoholism. I did that, and I'm not saying that we have done it, but we are glorifying drunkenness. We are glorifying. When you become the rough guy, you become the drunk guy. I was surprised on this very Citizen's television that somebody can sit in your studio and say that when I was somewhere, we were smoking weed with so-and-so in the toilet or in the corridors. I am surprised. What kind of a culture are we exposing to our children?
Okay.
That leader who is talking when I was smoking weed is actually telling my son and telling your daughter that it is cool to smoke it because eventually you become a governor. Eventually you become an MP. Eventually you become a doctor. You are glorifying. So this must stop. We must come up with strategies to make sure that we reduce the risk factors that are introducing addiction into the society.
Fair enough.
Lowering the cost of alcohol,
briefly,
like he had said, to me is not a solution because like the chair said, there are many ways of arresting this situation. Lowering the cost of alcohol does not actually say that we will stop people from drinking. And I'll give you a very good example. In 2005, we had a campaign against illicit alcohol. In 2013, we had another campaign against illicit alcohol in central Kenya. We reduced the availability and the supply of illicit alcohol. What happened? the level of bangi consumption went high.
So they went to look for
because
another
the people
drug.
who are consuming illicit alcohol, when they did not find it, they
Okay.
went looking for something else. So upping the game in terms of pricing
will
does
not make a difference.
does not
Mheshimiwa,
make
you've
a
raised several
difference.
points. I'll need to give the chair a
Yes.
chance to respond, but
Yes.
let's get another question if we have.
Na hebu sasa tusikize kutoka kwa wale ambao wamepitia changamoto hizi. Nataka kumpatia nafasi Cecil Njuguna, maanake alinieleza kuwa alikuwa na changamoto zake wakati ambapo akijaribu kujinasua kutoka kwa changamoto hizo.
My name is Cecil Njuguna. I'm head of counseling at Nairobi Place. Now I'm a recovering alcoholic. Now, I wanted to talk about the families. There is a lot of stigma when it comes to addiction, and they will view it as a moral failure, and they will actually isolate themselves from the one who's using the addict. Now, when it comes into recovery, they have to find a way that the addict can find a sense of belonging back into the family, but back to being incorporated into the families. Let the families support also the recovering alcoholics.
How was it?
Now, for me, it was quite difficult because when I was deep into addiction, my family actually isolated themselves from me, and there's a lot of hopelessness and despair. You get a lot of suicidal thoughts. You know, it's like you just want to escape from this world, because nobody actually cares about you. Now, in treatment and coming back into recovery, it's also quite a struggle to fit in. You know, you've been out of that family presence for the last like 10 years. I was in addiction for 10 years. Now, fitting in back into the family, it's like a gap. You have to fight for your space. You know, like I was the head of I'm the firstborn in a family, but you'll find that
Somebody came and took that
yes,
position.
they took up your position, and now getting back that position is an uphill task.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your story.
Family involvement. Perhaps that's something we can talk about. Carol, how was it for you?
So coming out of which part exactly?
Coming
Was
back.
your family involved?
Coming back to the family, I agree with Njuguna because I'm also the firstborn. And in my absence, my position had been taken. It has been an uphill task, and there are times I still have to prove myself. It doesn't come easily because you lost the trust. You lost everything that was yours as a firstborn. And now, when you have to fight back for your space, even the person you're fighting also feels it. Because this person has been away. This person is one that has made our family like this. Because we say addiction is a family disease. You know, the family is either infected or affected. In my case, my entire family was affected, including my kids. I have 2 children. Everybody was affected. So somebody had to step up on my behalf. So trying to regain that position was also not easy because this other person also felt, why? You know. So it's a struggle that I think will continue for a long time.
For a long time.
Yeah.
And earlier on, I'd mentioned that you had introduced yourself at some point here as a recovering addict.
Yeah.
When do you feel you'll be comfortable to say recovered addict? How does one make that sort of distinction?
I think recovery is a lifelong process.
Mm-hmm.
I have counselors here in the room. They'll speak of the same. Recovery is a lifelong process. Because anything can happen anytime, you know. So our recovery is not written in stone. That's why I choose to use the word recovery. Yeah.
Do you so do you feel that there's pressure from society for one to declare that they have recovered? Do you think society needs to know more to be able to help those in society who are struggling? Because you've said that this is something that you will have to be mentally aware of for life. Is that something that you wish more people knew?
Yeah, very strongly. And everywhere I go, I speak on addiction because society is almost clueless about what addiction really is. It's only now that it's beginning to come out into the limelight that people actually get addicted, that addiction actually is a disease. Yeah? And it is a lifelong process. There are people who've been in recovery for 20 years, and after 20 years, they relapse. Mm-hmm. What do you say of that person? Are they failures? They're not failures. Something wrong just happened along the way. It is possible to recover, yes, and never to indulge ever again. But I am very quick to say that it is a lifelong process. It is a daily struggle.
It is a lifelong process.
Yeah.
It is a daily struggle. Thank you, Caroline, for that. And on that note, we take a quick break here, even as we continue to hear powerful stories and talk about the drug abuse crisis in this country. That's our discussion today here at the Greenhouse Mall on the Citizen TV Town Hall. The hashtag is Monday Report. When we come back, we'll look at some of your feedback on social media. Use that hashtag or talk to us on SMS 22422 as well. We'll be right back.